The next component of DMM that we're going to explore is people of peace. This may be a new term for you, so let's start there. Sam, what are people of peace?
People of peace, Lana, is a terminology we use to describe those people whose hearts God has been preparing. Jesus said some amazing words just before he sent out the 72 disciples in Luke 10. He says, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few." So in essence, those people of peace that we're looking for are the harvest. They're the ones, as I say, whose heart God has been preparing. And Jesus goes on to say, when you enter a house, first say peace to this house. If someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. These are the people of peace we're looking for. These are the ones who are responding to the gospel. Another way Jesus put it is in his famous parable about the seeds. We see seeds falling on different grounds. And there were some seeds that fell on the ground that had been prepared. There was work that God had already put into that ground, the hearts of people. And when the seed, the gospel, falls on that ground, it springs up and it produces fruit. I see that fruit as discipleship.
So it sounds to me that people of peace are core to successful multiplication. Can you tell me more about how we find them and disciple them?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are multiple ways to find people of peace. Every one of us has a sphere of influence. Every one of us knows various people. And within those people groups that we're already engaging in, there are relationships. Now, some relationships we know will be conducive to discipleship and some won't. The ones that are responding, the ones that are intrigued by our conversation, the ones who respond when we bless them, or when we're praying publicly, saying grace over our food. There'll be those that respond and those that don't. So we're constantly on the lookout for those ones who are responding to something that God has already done within them. Now, where this becomes interesting with regards to multiplication is that for every person that we engage with, every person that we start that journey, that relationship with, has their own sphere of influence. And often there are overlaps with these spheres, but we can start engaging in a whole new people group. So how do we find them? Well, every person has a sphere of influence. Every person has a workplace, a club they attend, a sports club, whatever it might be. There's an amazing man called David Watson and his son Paul Watson, who wrote a book called Contagious Disciple Making. Within that book, they talk about these spheres of influence as silos. Now, historically, we have a tendency to want to pull someone out of their silo and into ours. It's almost a natural tendency to want to do that, and we build our own club around us. And unfortunately, that has infiltrated church circles and the way we do discipleship. Now, what David and Paul would teach is that it's better to leave that person within their silo. So we're not trying to bring them into ours. We're trying to equip them and empower them to reach the people within their own sphere of influence. It's quite a different model. It's a subtle difference, but a very effective one when it comes to multiplication. And so the people we're trying to find are those ones whose God's heart's prepared. We want to leave them where they are, and we want to empower them and encourage them. And we do that through a Discovery Bible study.
What I'm hearing is all my relationships can be turned into an opportunity for discipleship. That's challenging, something I could do better.
It certainly is a challenge. I think it's going to take a real paradigm shift in thinking. You know, we've been caught up in a bit of a consumer Christianity mindset where we turn up on a Sunday, we get spiritually fed, and we go. And I feel like we've responded to that call of Jesus to come. And so we come to him, but we've also got to respond to his sending out to go. Instead of coming and just getting spiritually fat, we need to put the exercise in and go and do his work. So there's definitely a challenge in that paradigm shift of thinking. I believe one of the keys to this change of mindset is the obedience to Jesus. We see in the Great Commission, Jesus said to go out into all the nations, making disciples of men, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then he said something else that often gets left off. He says, and teach them to obey all that I've commanded. Now, what I see when we do that, and we're teaching people to obey what Jesus has commanded, that obedience bridges gaps between my silo and yours, my culture and yours, my context and yours. I can do something in obedience to Jesus in my culture and my context, and you can do something that is in obedience to Jesus in your culture and your context. And both, they can look slightly different, but both be completely acceptable to him. Does that make sense? So this This obedience to Jesus can make those bridges between culture and context.
That sounds really different from what we're used to in our churches. But it's amazing to see the potential for discipleship that crosses cultural and social barriers so effectively. Okay, stay with us, and the next clip will explore a key tool for each of us to use to help people discover Jesus in a one-on-one or small group context, a Discovery Bible Study.